Walking with God. Insights from the Old Testament and New Testament. The theme of walking with God is central to the Bible, encompassing a life of obedience, faith, and intimate fellowship with the Creator. Both the Old Testament and the New Testament provide profound examples and teachings on what it means to walk with God. Enoch's walk with God. The Bible introduces the concept of walking with God in Genesis 5, verse 24. Enoch walked faithfully with God. Then he was no more, because God took him away. Enoch's walk with God was characterized by faith and obedience, so much so that he did not experience death, but was taken directly to heaven. His life symbolizes a close and unbroken relationship with God, a daily walk in trust and submission. Noah's righteous walk. Noah's life also reflects walking with God. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Genesis 6, verse 9. Noah's obedience in building the ark, despite ridicule and opposition, illustrates how walking with God often requires faith, perseverance, and a willingness to stand apart from the world. Abraham's journey of faith. Abraham's relationship with God provides a powerful example of walking with him by faith. In Genesis 17, verse 1, God commands Abraham, "Walk before me faithfully and be blameless." Abraham's obedience in leaving his homeland, Genesis 12, verses 1 to 4, and his willingness to sacrifice Isaac, Genesis 22, verses 1 to 18, demonstrate his unwavering faith and trust in God's promises. The law is guidance for walking with God. In the Old Testament, the law given to Moses served as a guide for the Israelites to walk with God. Deuteronomy 10, verse 12 summarizes this. "And now, Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you, but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul." Walking with God involved following his commandments, loving him wholeheartedly, and serving him faithfully. David's heart for God. King David's Psalms provide an intimate view of what it means to walk with God. In Psalm 23, David declares, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." David's life, though imperfect, reveals a heart deeply committed to God, seeking forgiveness and restoration when he strayed. Jesus, the perfect example of walking with God. In the New Testament, Jesus Christ embodies the ultimate example of walking with God. His relationship with the Father was marked by complete obedience and unity. "Very truly I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing." John 5, verse 19. Jesus' life of prayer, compassion, and unwavering commitment to God's will demonstrates the essence of walking with God. The role of the Holy Spirit. In the New Testament, the Holy Spirit plays a central role in guiding believers to walk with God. Galatians 5, verse 16 instructs, "So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh." Walking with God involves allowing the Holy Spirit to lead, convict, and empower believers to live in righteousness. Walking in faith, love, and obedience. The Apostle Paul emphasizes walking by faith. "For we live by faith, not by sight." 2 Corinthians 5, verse 7. Walking with God requires trusting him even when circumstances are uncertain. It also means walking in love, as Paul writes in Ephesians 5, verse 2. "Walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us." Obedience remains central, as expressed in 1 John 2, verse 6. "Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did." Bearing fruit in the Christian walk. Walking with God is reflected in a life that bears spiritual fruit. Colossians 1, verse 10 says, "So that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God." This includes showing love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5, verses 22 to 23. The narrow path. Jesus reminds believers that walking with God is not always easy. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Matthew 7 verse 14. Walking with God involves making difficult choices, resisting temptation, and staying committed to Him.